Hi everyone, welcome to this class. This is about a 30-minute vinyasa practice. You might need a brick for this class. Please don't worry if you don't have one, you can always grab a book or you can absolutely do this practice with no prop. This class is predominantly focused around the hips, so we'll be working through a bit of strength and mobility through the hips. So enjoy and I'll see you on the mat. Okay, so let's start in a child's pose. So come to your mat and bring yourself onto your knees. Now your knees could be mat distance apart, you might want a gap between the thighs, or you might want to bring the shins together, completely your choice. I'm just going to send the hands out in front and let the forehead just gently find the mat. So we'll take about 5 deep breaths here. Just let the heart space kind of soften down towards the floor. You can either be palms flat or you might lift up onto the fingertips to get a slightly deeper stretch through the shoulders. I'm just starting to connect in to those breaths, to each inhale and to each exhale. Last couple of cycles of breath here. Okay, and then slowly we're going to start to bring ourselves up into a tabletop position. So just gradually find yourself onto your hands and your knees. Spread those fingers nice and wide, bring the hands underneath the shoulders, and let's tuck the toes underneath as well, because we're just going to mobilise a little bit into the wrists and the feet. So just keeping the arms straight, just shifting the weight forwards and backwards. So we're getting a little bit of weight down through the hands, a little bit of a stretch in the wrists. And then also hopefully a little bit of a stretch in the toes and the bottoms of the feet. So just shifting forwards and backwards, just a few more breaths, doing this movement, making sure that those fingers still stay spread nice and wide. Okay, and then next time that you're in centre, let's pause and let's go straight into some cat-cow movements here for the back. So as we breathe in, think about lifting the tailbone, lifting the heart space, and feeling the kind of the belly and the abdomen drop down towards the floor. And then as we breathe out, we're going to draw the belly button in towards the spine. We're going to round the upper back and draw that tailbone under. So we'll just continue through these two shapes, perhaps finding your inhale here on your, this is what we call our cow belly, and your exhale here on this angry cat pose. Let's just do one more of those. Maybe feeling the shoulder blades move together here and the shoulder blades move apart here. And then coming back to centre. We'll take a quick wrist stretch here before we come up into downward dog. So from this position here in your tabletop, start to turn your hands around so the thumb starts to move towards the outer edge of your mat. Now you might make it to kind of a diagonal position, you could pause there. You might be able to get your hands to turn all the way around. Either one is fine, we just want to feel a slight increase of stretch down the front of the forearms and the wrists. We're just going to hold here for a few breaths, so not too much movement here with this one. You can shift slightly back if you wish, but just take it nice and slow, take it nice and gentle. Okay, and then just really slowly unravel the arms, maybe give the fingers, the wrists a little shake. Then we'll come straight up into downward dog from here. So start to lift those knees, lift those hips, find your first downward facing dog. And we're just going to have a little shift around here. So maybe just start by lifting up and down onto the balls of both feet. So just taking little heel raises here. And then once you've taken a couple of those, alternately bending left and then right knee, so you're walking on the spot. Feel free to allow that to move into the hips, so you might get a little bit of a twist, a little bit of a rotation into the hips and maybe into the chest. Maybe kind of looking underneath one arm and then the other. Great. And then coming back to a neutral downward dog. We're going to take some more emphasis into the arms and the shoulders. So from this downward dog, lift your heels a little bit and bend your knees, so we're not working with straight legs. And as you bend the knees, see if you can press a little bit more through the hands, so the shoulders will move up towards the ears, and we really find that push to open through this, or engage through this space here in our chest and our armpits, as we kind of send the rib cage towards the thighs. And then coming back, lengthening those legs a little bit. Okay, so on our next inhale, we're going to come forward into a high plank position. So just shifting that weight forward so that our shoulders end up over our wrists. I'm just going to hold here for about 5 breaths. So make sure you engage your glutes, so switch your glutes on in your plank pose. Think about driving back through the heels, drawing the belly button gently in towards the spine, and really pressing the mat away with those hands. Holding for another few breaths here. Okay, and then back up into downward dog when you're ready. Let's mobilize those hips a little bit. So lifting that right leg away from the floor, but we're going to bend the right knee. I'm just going to start to draw some circles with that thigh. Some nice big circular movements here. And then go in the opposite direction. Great, and then bring that right foot back down. Let's swap sides. So left leg lifts, we're going to bend the knee. You're going to start to draw those circles. Keeping the arms nice and active. And you can go in the opposite direction. And placing that foot back down next to the right. Let's bend both knees this time, look forward. Step or walk your way to the top end of your mat. Take the weight off the hands. Give the fingers a little shake, maybe the wrists a little shake side to side. And then we'll hang out here in this forward fold. So you can absolutely have bent knees, or you could have slightly straighter legs. Feel free to add in any extra movement, whether that's like a little sway side to side, or a rock forwards and backwards, or just a little movement with those wrists, whatever you need here. I'm going to take a couple of sun salutations before we move through a short standing sequence. So from this position, we'll take our halfway lift. So I'm just going to slide the hands up the shins. Maybe they just pause just below the knees. Lengthen through that spine, reaching out through the crown of the head. Take a breath in here. As we breathe out, bring the hands back down, bend your knees, and then step back into a high plank position. Take a nice deep breath in. As we breathe out, let's bring our knees down for this first chaturanga, softening of the elbows down to the floor. Inhale, untuck your toes, lifting into a cobra. Can be a low cobra, doesn't have to be lifting too high. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Take 2 breaths here, inhale. And exhale. Last one, inhale. And as you exhale, soften those knees, look forward, stepping or walking to your hands. Inhale, halfway lift, hands slide up the shins. Exhale, forward fold. We'll come all the way up to standing this time. So inhale, driving the feet down into the mat as we lift. And exhale, hands just gently find the heart space. Let's go second cycle. Breathing in, sweeping the arms up and overhead. Breathing out, folding forward, folding to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, find that sense of space in the spine. And exhale, bring the hands down and step back into your plank. Feel free to leave the knees off the floor this time. Elbows are nice and narrow. Untucking your toes, inhale, finding your cobra. And tucking your toes, exhale, finding your downward dog. Let's take 2 breaths here, inhale. Exhale. And again, inhale. And exhale. Let's just come through a couple of warrior ones. So from this downward dog, bring your right foot forward towards your hands. Take your left foot a little bit out to the side so that when you plant your heel down, your legs are on kind of their own tracks. Press down through those feet and coming all the way up to standing. Now just checking in that as you're lifting your arms in your warrior one, that you're not kind of letting the lower back get a little bit soggy. So even if the arms are reaching more in a diagonal position here, we just still want to feel that connection to our core center. So we can kind of gradually work on our overhead range of motion in those shoulders. Okay, take a deep breath in. As we breathe out, let's bring the hands down towards the floor and step back into downward dog. And we'll go a second side. So left foot steps forward. Again, back foot a little bit out to the side, plant the heel down, energize the legs to help bring you up. And then as you lift those arms, again making sure that you're not letting the lower back goes soggy. I still think about drawing everything in towards the center line and feeling like the front edges of the rib cage are just slightly knitting together. Okay, one full breath in here. One full breath out. Let's bring the hands all the way back down to the floor. And then stepping back into downward dog. Take a nice deep breath in. As you breathe out, bend your knees, look forward, step walk or maybe a little hop to your hands. Halfway lift as you breathe in. Forward fold as you breathe out. Let's roll up to standing, so bend the knees, just gently unroll through the spine. And once you arrive, roll those shoulders up, back and down. Okay, so you're going to step back with the right leg, not a massive step. It's like half a leg's distance, but again, make sure your legs have got their own tracks. My back leg's a little bit turned out here. Now for this next pose, you could use a brick if you have one handy, but don't worry if you don't have one. So just start by bringing the hands to the hips. Take a nice deep breath in, press the feet into the floor, see if you can find length through the spine, and then as we breathe out, I'm going to fold forward. Now you could absolutely leave the hands here in this forward fold. If you do want to go a little bit further down towards the floor and you have a brick or a couple of bricks handy, feel free to bring your arms down onto them. So for this pose, we're looking for a lengthening, stretching sensation down the back of that front left leg. So hamstring, maybe the back of the knee, maybe a little bit into the calf as well. I'm going to hold for one more deep breath in here. And one more deep breath out. If you had your hands onto your brick, bring them back to your hips, energize the legs, push the floor away, come back up to standing. And then a little bend in your left knee, we're going to come into our warrior two. So I'm sending my right leg a little bit further away towards the back of the mat and opening out the pelvis. Let's reach out those arms from here and then flip the palms up to face the ceiling, just to get that sense of openness through the chest, the pecs and the biceps. So holding here for about 3 breaths in our warrior two, really driving down through those feet. If you feel like your front left knee is collapsing in, then just see if you can press down into the outer edge of the left foot and lift through the inner arch of that foot. And also if you engage your glute, the bum muscle on that left side, that helps with that external rotation. So let's take one more deep breath in and one more deep breath out. You can leave the arms where they are as we inhale, straighten that front left leg. We're going to take our Trikonasana. So energize through the legs. You're going to tip forward towards that front left thigh and either let your hand rest on your shin, or if your brick again is somewhere handy, you could bring your hand down towards your brick. I really like to use the brick in this pose as I feel like it's more where my shoulder is as opposed to using my leg, so it feels a little bit more secure. So right arm is reaching straight up to 12 o'clock. You could look up towards that hand if you wish, or you might prefer to keep your gaze forward towards the space in front of you. Let's really think about energizing those legs to keep the pelvis and the lower back nice and stable. Holding here for just 2 more breaths. So breathing in, breathing out, and again breathing in and breathing out. Okay, turn your gaze down towards the floor. We're going to bend that left knee. We're going to turn down, bring the hands down. You can move that brick out of the way. Frame that front foot and then gently step back into your downward dog from there. Take a nice deep breath in. Take a nice deep breath out. So that same leg that you just stepped back, your left leg, we're going to take a 3-legged dog. So I'm going to sweep that left leg up behind me. Don't worry about how high it's going. Just really energize through the back of that left leg, using that hamstring to lift. Okay, deep breath in. Deep breath out. We're going to come forward into a lizard lunge. So start to bring yourself forward into plank. Bring that left leg with you and place it on the outside of your left hand. And we're going to keep the back knee lifted here, so the back right knee. But see if you can sink your hips down towards the floor without letting that knee drop down. So keep energizing back through that right leg. You can absolutely bring your hands up onto your brick if you want a little bit more height away from the floor. You're going to hold here for about 3 or so breaths. Heart space reaching forward. Okay, one more full inhale. One more full exhale. From here, We're going to bring that back knee down towards the floor. You can absolutely use a cushion or a blanket. And then from this position, wriggle your left foot a little bit more into the center, and then bring yourself up onto that thigh. Okay, so take a nice deep breath in. Take a nice deep breath out. It's going to take a bit of a twist here. So your right arm, the same arm as the leg that's behind, is going to lift as we breathe in. And then as we breathe out, I'm just going to take a gentle twist. And the back of my hand is just going to rest onto the outside of my left knee. And then I can kind of scooch this left hand around to the lower back. I'm just going to hold here. And you can really brace with this right arm. Kind of press the back of the hand into the leg, and then press the leg and turn back into the hand to create that kind of firmness. Deep breath in. As you breathe out, gently start to unwind. Bring the hands down towards the floor. We're going to step forward. So lift that back knee and step your feet together at the top of the mat. Folding forward. And then bending the knees and unrolling and coming all the way up to standing. Great. Roll the shoulders up, back and down. Let's do everything on the second side. So this time we'll step back with the left leg. Just that small step back, making sure that our legs are on those separate tracks. Hands find the hips to begin with. Take a breath in. Lift and lengthen, and breathing out, folding forward down towards that right shin. Now remember, you might stay here, or you might grab your brick or whatever prop you're using instead of a brick and bring your hands down. So I like to think of this posture not so much as about getting your forehead to your knee. So I mean, you can take it like this if you wish, but especially if you're using the brick, you can really use it to try and find that kind of telescoping effect through the spine, more of like a tabletop position. Okay, one more deep breath in here. One more deep breath out. Keep the legs nice and strong as you bring the hands back to the pelvis. Press through the feet and lift, come all the way back up. We're going to come into our warrior two on the second side. So step your left leg back and turn yourself to the other long side of the mat. Arms open out nice and wide, and then again let's turn the palms up so they face the ceiling. Remembering to energize through both legs and just checking in with the inner arch of that right foot, and also just checking that your glutes are switched on here. Glutes are external rotators, so they help to open the hip, so particularly on that right leg, that front leg. 2 breaths here. Inhale, exhale, and again inhale and exhale. Let's straighten that front left leg. We can keep the arms where they are as we inhale, and exhale, we're going to tip forward towards that right shin, remembering that you can let your hand rest on the shin or grab your brick or 2 bricks, however many you need. And left arm is reaching straight up to 12 o'clock. Now I really think about engaging my legs here, so I press the feet into the floor, and then I think about, particularly in this front leg, trying to wrap the outside edge of the thigh towards the space in front. And again, that's going to help to stabilize your hips, to keep everything switched on and happy. Holding here for another 2 breaths. So breathing in and breathing out. And again, breathing in and breathing out. Turn your gaze down towards the floor. Let your left hand drop down. Start to bend that right knee. Move the brick out of the way if you used it. And we're coming into that low lunge, or that lunge position. So plant down through the palms, take a nice deep breath in, and take a nice deep breath out. We're going to step back into downward dog. Just take a little moment here, round down through the feet, and then we'll take that 3-legged dog. So the same leg that you just slid back, your right leg, I'm going to sweep it up and back. Again, don't worry about how high it's going. Think about really driving up towards the ceiling through the heel. So we're using the muscles at the back of the leg. Keep the arms nice and active. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, draw yourself forward into plank. Bring the right leg with you, and then step the right foot nice and wide, coming into our lizard lunge. So remember, we're keeping our back knee lifted for this first variation, but still seeing if we can sink the hips down. Remember, you've always got your brick if you want to lift yourself a little bit higher away from the floor. Holding here for a few breaths. Okay, one more full breath in. And one more full breath out. Bring that back left knee down towards the floor. Bring your right leg just a little bit closer into center, not all the way in, just so it's not so far out, because we're going to take that twist. And then bring your body up. Remember to put something underneath your back knee if you want that little bit of extra support. So on your inhale, we're going to lift the left arm. And as we breathe out, turn towards that front right knee. I'm just bringing the back of the palm onto the outside edge of the thigh or the knee, and then just sliding my right hand around to the lower back. So we're looking for a little bit of sensation in the front of the left hip for this one. And you can either sink the weight forward or you can come up a little bit higher, just making sure that it feels okay for that back left knee. Holding here for another 2 breaths. So breathing in and breathing out. And again, breathing in and breathing out, unwinding, bringing the hands down towards the floor. And we'll go back into a child's pose from here. So we can just kind of slide that right leg back, bring the shins down, and find our child's pose. And we'll just take about 5 breaths here. Remember, you can lift up onto the fingertips, or you can keep the palms flat. Okay, last couple of breaths. Okay, let's come back up into downward dog. Unless you'd like to rest for longer, remember you can always hit pause, or you can just catch back up in a moment. So coming back up onto your hands and your knees, tuck those toes, and coming back into your downward dog. Just going to stretch out through the outer hips, and we'll find our pigeon pose. So from your downward dog, we're just going to start to, as if we're coming forward into a plank position, like we did before, but we're going to place the shin on the floor. So I'm bringing the right knee behind the right wrist. My ankle is closer towards me than my knee is. And then I'm bringing the back thigh down and then placing the top of the foot on the floor. Do not worry if there's a gap here. You don't have to sandwich something underneath it. You can if you want, but you can leave it. What we want to make sure that's not happening is we want to make sure that there's no pain in the kneecap. So we're looking for sensation here and maybe down the thigh, but definitely not in the knee. If you do find that with your body kind of in this square position, it's putting a lot of pressure on your knee, just sit a little bit more on towards the right hip. So you'll be going a little bit more on the diagonal, which is completely fine. Just takes a little bit of the weight off that leg. So maybe let's come down onto the forearms wherever we are. We'll stay for about 5 breaths. Remember, you can always use a brick if the floor feels like it's too far away. Okay, last couple of breaths. Okay, and then really slowly, just starting to press back up onto those hands. Tuck the back toes underneath, just so you can kind of scooch yourself forwards again. And then stepping back into downward dog, just taking a little moment here to give the legs a little wriggle. Notice how your right side feels. And we'll go straight onto the left. So again, as if you're coming forward into that plank pose, bring that left knee with you and then bring the shin onto the floor. And as you can see, hopefully you can see a bit better on this side, my ankle is closer towards me than my knee is. We are by no means trying to get our front leg in a 90-degree angle. It really doesn't matter. Please prioritize the sensation over what you think the pose should look like. And it might be a different variation that you take on this side. So remember that you can sit a little bit more onto your left hip and maybe bring your body a little bit more over towards the side for this stretch, or you might be a little bit more central. We're looking for the stretch in our glute muscles, so that's the larger muscle of the outer hip. Maybe it might go down a little bit at the outer thigh, but remember, we don't want any pain in the kneecap. So again, we'll stay here for about 5 breaths. Maybe encouraging the breath to move down into the lower belly as you take these next few breaths. Okay, last deep breath in. Last deep breath out. When you're ready, maybe bringing yourself back up onto your hands. We're going to come straight through to seated, so we can kind of sit onto our left hip and then swing the legs around. And just give them a little bit of a wriggle. The ankles, a little bit of a shake side to side. Okay, we're going to come straight down onto our backs. We're going to do one pose to finish, and then we'll take a Shavasana. So for the pose on your back, we're going to use a brick. If you don't have a brick handy, grab a couple of cushions. We just want something that can elevate our pelvis away from the floor. I'm going to be using this brick on its lowest height. If you've done this pose quite a few times and you don't have any major low back issues, you could flip it up to its medium height. I'm going to show you this way around for today. So we're going to come down onto our backs. We're going to slide the brick underneath the pelvis. And also when you use it on the lowest height, you do have just a larger surface area anyway, so it's probably more comfortable. And then to start with, let's just let both legs straighten. You just want to make sure that your brick is in a comfortable spot. So as you can see here, it's kind of under the bulk of my pelvis. It's not really touching my lumbar spine, but have a little wriggle around. If this feels pretty good for you, you can just stay here. So as you can see, with the brick elevating, I'm getting maybe a mild stretch here through the hip flexors, psoas, lower belly, front of the thighs. If you want to take it a little bit deeper, I'm going to bring one knee into the chest. So I'll start with my right knee. You might just have to do a little reshuffle just to make sure it's in the right spot. And I'm going to, the left leg's not really doing anything, just hugging that right knee in towards the chest, just to hopefully increase a little bit of sensation on one side. So we'll spend a few breaths here and then we'll swap to the other leg. Remembering that you can just keep both legs straight if that feels better for you. So relax the arms, try not to kind of tighten up into your shoulders too much here. Okay, and then we'll swap to the other side, so let your right leg lengthen if you're doing this option, and then pull that left knee into the chest. Give it a nice big squeeze. And my right leg, my other leg is relaxed here, so I'm just kind of letting the foot flop out towards the side. Again, arms nice and relaxed. You can even close your eyes here. Okay, last deep breath in. A nice big breath out. Let's let go of that left leg. But I'm just going to bring both feet onto the floor here so we can remove the brick. Just pop it to the side. Bring your pelvis back down. Maybe you want to sway the knees side to side. You might want to give both knees a hug into the chest. Okay, and then we're going to come into Shavasana from here. So just find a nice comfortable position. It could be like a big star shape like this. You might prefer to keep your knees bent and your feet on the floor. So we're just going to spend the last few minutes here of practice just with the breath. If you do have the time to stay longer in your Shavasana, this video will just naturally end, so you can just stay for as long as you need. So closing the eyes, take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Fill up the belly and then breathe out through the mouth when you're ready. And again, deep breath in. Deep breath out. So just enjoying the sense of stillness in your Shavasana. And thank you very much for joining me for this practice. And always, if you have any questions, please feel free to just let me know in the comments below.